Whoa. Hmm? Yeah. Today we're covering Bitcoin going up around 100K. There's quite a bit of excitement in the markets in general, and I've got some alpha regarding an AI fitness kind of token. So let's dive in. Let's get amongst it. So starting here at Messari for a little bit of a quick debrief. So MicroStrategy buys $101 million worth of Bitcoin, Metaplanet 10,000 Bitcoin, and what else do we have done here? Basically, it's just primarily Bitcoin news. Which Bitcoin goes up, I think dominance is going to start to go down of Bitcoin, and then altcoins are going to fly. So by the time this was released, and now Bitcoin has actually been bought by MicroStrategy, but every time he posts this the Michael Saylor Bitcoin tracker, then they go and buy Bitcoin the next day. In this case, it's worked exactly on tune, which of course would generally mean a little bit of a pump up in the price. Now, MicroStrategy is a stock that I want to actually get some of. However, I haven't yet because it's a little bit hard to get it in Portugal and whatever. You put your money into a stock and then you don't have it for DeFi or whatever. Essentially, I do believe, and you can look into this in your own time, but I do believe that this will probably 10x from this point within the next year, which is crazy. They've figured out some sort of infinite printing glitch or something. Also, there's more companies that are going into Bitcoin. So this is the most bullish cycle, but it's hard to keep a track of all the different data. So I think most people know who Vivek Ramaswamy is. But his company files to launch a Bitcoin bond ETF. That means that they go and buy company stocks that are actually holding Bitcoin, as an example. And I didn't mention the previous thing, but regarding Metaplanet is a Japanese company. It's accumulated 10,000 Bitcoin thus far. It's doing a similar thing to MicroStrategy. Not a stock that I'm buying or anything like that, just people are already copying what MicroStrategy is doing. Now, of course, like as soon as the Bitcoin reserve is actually started by Trump, if he follows through on his promise, then this will just mean like anyone that's not in crypto yet needs to get in within days, because it's just going to be incrementally more exciting. However, the likelihood of him doing this thus far within the first 100 days of his presidency is not super high. But if it goes a little lower, I might make a small bet on Poly Market. So Mags has this as a thesis. He hasn't listed why it is, but one of my researchers has. We've got to keep in mind that Trump's coming in. He's pro-Bitcoin, or at least he publicly has said he is. We've got ETFs that are just on-flowing massive amounts of money. MicroStrategy is just going to outperform pretty much every major stock market out there, major company out there. And I think that Q1 will be a kind of like movement, which will rotate into alts. Now, having a look at the market state, plenty of green there. Sol's at 220, Bitcoin's up over 100K. So this is fantastic. Essentially, in Messari, there was also another post there, which we won't cover now, but if we break down, then we could dip down to like 76,000. But that hasn't, anyone shorting Bitcoin has been wrecked recently. I don't want to short it, especially this close to Trump jumping in. Our greed has bounced up again from like 65 to 76. Nothing too greedy though. Certainly happy to keep on DCAing. Now there's a couple of unlocks happening, nothing crazy. Aptos is probably the biggest one. Aptos, for anyone that watched my video I did with Santiago and Boris from CCS, they specialize in just airdrop farming. So if you're into airdrop farming, check out their channel for sure. He's spoken about, Santiago in particular, about farming, just doing stuff on Aptos, hoping for an Aptos airdrop. I think you're welcome to do that. I do not play over there whatsoever, and I do not think this amount of tokens being unlocked is going to do anything to the price. But I'm very bearish on when a founder quits. They survived the tail end, well, they survive the bear market and then off they go. So just bearish in general. I think SUI, which also uses a move language, will outperform this significantly. One thing to keep in mind is that when you look at the breakdown, the community gets a whole lot of rewards. I don't know what they do with those, but core contributors, foundation investors, kind of crazy that the foundation gets such a small amount. Either way, I don't think it's going to do much to the price, but I don't buy any. But if we have a look at Aptos, it hasn't performed overly well. In fact, its highlight was 2 years ago, and since then, it hasn't done much, to be perfectly honest. Now, with January 20 coming with the inauguration, there could be a decent push into meme coins. Elon Musk, if you love him or hate him, I love him. I think he's great, but he gets the most amount of attention out there for sure. And I think BONK guy's thesis on Doge and maybe even Flocky, his biggest bag is Flocky, just so you know, BONK guys. These tokens could be worth accumulating some now, maybe taking some profits if they go a little bit crazy. I'll grab some of these. The Department of Government Efficiency, I don't love as much, but obviously, you know, it still has a market out there. Just biggest audiences out there. It's memeable, it's somewhat funny, etc. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that every cycle is different. People get smarter and smarter, and I do agree with this. Don't expect majors to pull 5 to 10x's this cycle. Like those that are calling for 15 to 20k ETH, good luck. I do think Sol could hit around 1,000, so a 5x from this point, and maybe Sui could as well because it's a little bit lower. But in general, it's like a set and forget kind of portfolio method. Probably not going to be your best bet. You're going to have some that you will, like you take your Sol, stake with validator.com, set it, forget it, whatever, fine. But other ones you may want to jump in and jump out a little bit more actively, especially if you're on to the new kind of meme coin game. Kamino's got some new news that happened today, and that is the Sol utilization cap will be removed, which will allow for a market to be a market. So what that could mean, if you're unsure, by the way, you can always use Gronk. I understood what it meant, but you can click on this button and it'll give you a little TLDR of what that means. And if you don't have premium, then you need to get premium. I think it's well worth it. So if you get, basically, you can get liquidated. In terms of taxes for anyone in the US, check out Crypto Tax Made Easy. They do very decent stuff over there. So what this basically means is you go to the main market, and this is capped at present, meaning the borrow cap is 5.4 million Sol, and the supply is 6. So you can't, this is not going to run away too much. But if we click, but what's going to happen is this is going to become a free market. So if we click on this and we come on down, if you go in supply right now, you get 4.66%. If you go and borrow Sol, it's 6.39. Most people that are borrowing Sol, they're doing so in order to multiply their Jito Sol or Dupe Sol or whatever positions, which I'll show you shortly. Not a big fan of that. I know it has a minimal risk, and I have covered in videos more as tutorial guides. I do not do it really at all, to be perfectly honest. The issue is, if things start to go a little bit crazy and more people start to leverage up like that, then your borrow APY goes up, and then you don't get enough. It basically, it swaps the Sol into Jito Sol, but you're borrowing the APY, and you're not getting the same return from actually holding Jito Sol, because that doesn't go up like this. That goes up on staking and staking rewards, not on borrow markets. The thing that would make it balance out most likely is markets behave like markets. So what that means is the Wintermute or some trading firm will come over and go, okay, you know what? Let's go put 200,000 Sol, 300,000 Sol in. We'll probably drop it from 37% to like 22 or 18 or something, and they'll start to collect that yield because it's juicy. So it will allow more TVL actually into the space. But what I'm referring to here is multiply, where if you have a look at these different ones, you can go and do BONK Sol, and you go and deposit, 50 Sol multiply it by 5x, and you actually go and borrow a decent amount of SOL by leveraging up like this, and then you pay the interest on that. So right now you'd be in profit, but if it climbed up, you would not be. And if it stayed up for too long, you would be liquidated. Now, Sonic SVM Alpha Vaults are open. I don't have much information on this, sadly. Bit annoying that I don't, but it's never just properly made my radar properly. So I'll give you a little bit of information. You can do what you want in terms of it. So it is overfilled. So you can go and put in, as you can see, $420, and not everyone's going to be able to do it, right? And then because it's overfilled, you know, let's say this goes to a 10x, you're going to get $42 worth of the Sonic token, which is 1 day of vesting. So you basically get it straight away. And then you will get a refund back of the USDC. You'll go and claim it. And it's just a bootstrapping pool. And, you know, they're not trying to raise a whole lot of money, but I don't have a lot of information on them. I would happily speak to the Sonic team or do a podcast if you're interested. If you've put out the information and people are understanding it, fantastic. But I can always deem that a lot more people need to do a lot more research. They have a massive number of followers, so maybe I'm just missing them. Or another big issue is these things can be just airdrop farmed for like crazily. So here, you can see the token distribution. I don't think this is amazing, but I'm open. You know, I'm a reasonable person. I can change. Initial circulating supply at 15%. There's just the meta's changed. Hype did well. They did 33%, and everything has worked out well. People want more of the token out initially. Also, if you have a look at the investors, the foundation, the early supporters, it's a decent chunk, and you're starting to move towards more of a 65 to 70% for the community, and the rest for insiders, team, VCs, etc. So these are the tokenomics. If it pumps, cool. There's been a lot of transactions over there, but I just don't know what you do. I mean, it has to do with it's a layer 2 for gaming potentially. Anyone that's super knowledgeable about it, I'd love to chat to you. Either way, you've got limited amount of time to jump to that pool. They did raise $16 million, so they've got, you know, they've raised some money over 4 rounds, and this was back when we're still in a bit of a bull market. But then they managed to also do some here, so they've probably done more than that. And this was a seed, and then they did another seed, a Series A. Now, just to compare to hype, so 333 million tokens were set loose, and the hype chart has just been fantastic. You can see this is 33% of the supply, and that means that you can enter price discovery, and price discovery is good. All right, so we've got some alpha here regarding BONK Inu. Now, this has been taken down, this post apparently, but here is the video. It's basically to set up Saturn bot, go ahead and bridge across some SOL or BONK to BTC through Telegram, and then this is going to get you your next BONK Dragon attribute. It's been taken down because Saturn has not been performing exceptionally well as a bot, like maybe it's been overworked, but you want to get as many of these as possible. When they're all filled, could be a few months, my expectation would be a decent airdrop. I do not have all these filled myself because, excuse me, silliness. Okay, Gains has just been released. It's an AI agent that's coming online this week. The token was released. This was released by Pulse, and they believe this was probably the biggest launch of the year without a PFP. Well, it's only been 6 days. Now, I've done a video on this, which will be released in about an hour or so. Watch that video. I've got a huge amount of conviction in this field. I'm not saying going dive into the token necessarily. Oh, it looks like I've skipped a few things. Sorry, I'll come back to that. So next, they release this here, and essentially what this goal is a bot that can, you know, tell you, I know what you need to do to improve your health. You improve your health, you improve your productivity. You improve your productivity, you make some decent gains. So I've bought the token. The token's down a little bit. Sorry, not everything's organized, but I'm interested in it. Also, I bought some pre-orders of Pulse, the actual wearable. It's like a Whoop watch. You put it here, and watch my video on that. I am properly bullish on that. I think that's, you know, $1 billion project right there. Let's go back to this. So remember, with the calendar, bookmark the calendar. Plenty of love in here, and just have a look and see what you want to get amongst. So in particular, if you've got a decent amount of like Pingu tokens, try and get this roll. Try and get, you know, all those tokens into one wallet, have it connected to Metrica or Collabland or whatever it is, and then go and grab some a roll in Discord, which could end up being an abstract airdrop. Who knows? Okay. Sanctum in January. Cloud staking is coming soon. So the cloud token price has kind of gone down. There's a lot of big unlocks happening. I'm unsure what I'm doing with my cloud, but I'm pretty bullish. I don't need to sell my cloud. I'm kind of happy just to keep a hold of it and stake it, to be perfectly honest. I think they're going to gain a decent amount of TVL, but they need to be more present on social media to keep people alive or updated. So they can still go and ship a million things, but they need someone they're just pinging away, and that will do wonders for the token price. Of course, you know, token price and product, they're connected, but they're separate things. They don't have to do anything like that, but it would be better for the token price. Okay, let's go over some DLMMing stuff. The thing that makes me most excited every day is obviously Sol price going up, which is staked, and I'm very happy with that. But also like DeFi and farming. And I wish I had more time to do Meteor stuff, and I wish I did it earlier, but I devoted so much time to Jupiter, which they're doing so well with their content. I stepped away, and now I just want to cover Meteor stuff, because it is, if you know what you're doing, it's a fee printer. So this is Tux here. I've asked him if he wants to do like a podcast. I did one with Geek Lad. You can watch that. I want to do as many good DLMM podcasts with him as possible. So this shows a bit of a tumble here, unfortunately, in Sol, in this particular wallet. A couple of losses or whatnot, I'm unsure. But from this point, we can basically say this was New Year's Eve. So this is 6 days of profit, 5 days of profit. Printed 328 Sol, impairment loss of 100 Sol, profit 228 Sol in 5 days. What is that even? 50 grand or higher? Now, this person's pretty skilled. You can see the Sol profit by token, swarms, send, like all these different tokens here, 139 positions, and oh, there you are. Total profit, US dollars, $53,000. So he's gone ahead and put this down. He's got a very specific thing. So give it a go. If you're going to give these things a go, which I do encourage you to do so, go with a small amount of capital and learn things. Write down what works, what doesn't work. Use a spreadsheet. Don't be lazy. If you have the ability to do so, have more than one monitor. I've got a monitor here, here, and here. And so I'll put a Google Sheet over here, go put the position. I enter this, okay, profit, loss, whatever, what I learned from it. It's like a trading journal if you're a trader, only you're a DLMMing journal. It's the same thing. That's what I think would be very successful. Now, I'm just going to link this below, of course, but he's got specifics. Have a look at these things. The guy is brilliant. He's got the skills to pay the bills. I would love $53,000 in a week. And you would too. Obviously, you're not going to go in with such size initially. This guy's got the skills, but have a look and check out his strategy. I'm going to show you a couple of things now, though, so that you can get a feel for it. Each day we'll learn something new on DLMMs. So this is a new token, hasn't been performed well, and then it's dipping. Don't even know what it is. What I'm trying to show you here is actually the MACD, the moving average convergence divergence indicator, which I'm not going to go into too much, but you come into indicators here. This is GMGN, DLMM.ai, turn it on, and then you can see the volume bar down here. I might just remove myself for a moment. And what this does is help you decide your entries. Now, of course, you still need to understand ranges and setting ranges. So watch some videos on that if you're not super familiar. But if we zoom in, let's go for the last little bit of time. In terms of ideas to play with, once again, anyone that's better than me that DLMMing, use their advice more. But this is stuff that I'm learning, daily, which is what you have to do. If you're planning on being in something for like an hour, or just try and make 2-3% get out, 10% get out, 1 minute chart is probably what you want to go with. If you want to be in it for 8 hours or whatever, maybe the 5-minute chart. You can use this, if we zoom in a little bit, you can use this when these cross. When these cross, consider entering into a DLMM position. So how this would work is, imagine you've just got some SOL and you find the right liquidity pool. You already know what you're looking for. You're looking for something with high fees, but then you don't want to go and enter at the wrong time and just hope that it starts to sell on the pump. So instead, you've set everything correctly. It gets in, it flips. At this point here, you would go and buy some on dupe, half, put into spot, set your bins, and here you can see you've got your pump. So you're selling on the way up, and you're gonna lose your range. Now, if you lose your range and if you want to watch it more actively, you don't even have to. You wouldn't even get in at this point. You'd wait for it to come back down, cross back over, and then you'd get in at this point. And at this point, you would you'd ride it up until like here, right? And then you could close it if you wanted to. And if you do that each time, you could see that these would be very profitable things. Now, of course, you can leave it here. You can just leave it there if it's within a range. I'm more referring to your entry of a range, because as you go down, you buy it back and then you sell it. Of course, if the token kind of falls out of a range, well, then that's another strategy. But when you're sure it's in a range and you notice that something flicks green for the first time, that's something that you can keep in mind. Hopefully you understand that. Okay. Let me have a look at a couple of things. Oh yeah, another thing which I've covered before, but we may as well cover it again, is Hawkfire. You can use this if you want to. They take an 8% cut of your fees. It's good if you don't have as much time to spend, but go and put the token address in here and see what these are printing in terms of fees. They're not immediately accurate because this is in the last 24 hours. It could have dipped down since then. It's not a guarantee that you're going to get 40%, but you can see that these are actually doing, it's a token that's getting a lot of volume, or it was. Don't jump into a 5% pool when there's like 2 and 0.81. 5% is what people jump into initially, and then when there's enough liquidity, you have to go elsewhere. And we can apply the same thing to anything. So like GNZ, we go and take this token as an example and work out our entry. The volume's kind of low now. It's dropped below $1 million. When it drops below $1 million, you typically will not DLMM something unless there's a lack of liquidity, but there's a decent amount of liquidity. So this here, you DLM'd here, and then as soon as the volume started to die down, you'd probably pull out, unless you were happy with lower amounts, of course. Another fantastic tool, and this is the final thing here, is Ultra LP. I'm just going to link it below. It's simple. Open it up, put in your wallet address. Oh, okay. This was working. All right, I'll show you that tomorrow because it looks as though I need to get a different link for that to work. All right, let's jump into some actionables. So DCA, Sol, and Dupe, stake with Val.com. Join my Telegram channel for time-sensitive updates. Sui Network, Sui's doing well. Get amongst some of those. Manage your positions on Kamino, because if you are using the multiply function, you do not want to go and get liquidated if things ramp up. Just be mindful of the multiply new terms. Watch my video on Pulse. It's coming out in about an hour. And use my referral. You get $10 off. I have no idea what I get, but I'm pretty bullish on Pulse, and you'll see why when you watch the video. Airdrop, Meteor points, Met points. Got to be honest, that's where the party's at. Cast debit card, working on another video here. We'll see if I can get released tomorrow. Gradient, Grass, Dawn, just keep doing them and get that latest BONK Dragon attribute by doing swaps worth $40 on the Saturn bot on Telegram. That's everything for today. Tomorrow I'll be doing a full-on AMA. You can ask all your questions then. And regarding this question here, Crypto Gumby, we can cover it tomorrow, but basically, I think there's plenty of opportunities on Base. It's not a decentralized blockchain. Arrow, I don't have a lot of value, but it's like, it's an AMM. It's probably worth looking into, so I'll look into it. Thanks very much for tuning in, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Whoa. Yeah.